Good morning. Welcome to video number 2 that's going to go through codes and conventions. Now this is the follow-up to the response synthesis video, and now I'm going to explain what codes and conventions are, provide you with some guiding questions and some examples to help prepare you for the task that is to follow, which is your exam. Now let's start by looking at exactly what are codes and conventions, and I kind of mentioned this in the last video. They're essentially literary or stylistic elements that you find in a short story or novel. What we've done, Ms. Lauren and I, is we've presented 10 options of codes and conventions that you can write about in your response synthesis. So we're going to go through all 10. The first one is an engaging opening. So, questions you can ask yourself are, does the opening of the short story or novel effectively grab the reader's attention? Another question is, does the opening adequately prepare the reader for the story that is to follow? So does it hook the reader in, and does it establish the setting? The opening, by the way, is a situation initiale if we're referring to what you've learned in French class. Following this, you can look at the theme or message. When you're looking at this, you want to ask yourself, does the story contain a significant theme or message about important aspects of life that is clear to the character, or clear to the reader? This will often be linked to the message to explore. So you can also ask yourself this question down here. Does the story effectively express the message to explore? As I talked about in the last video, this is often related to the theme. Moving on, we have a well-structured plot. So, does the plot have tension created by suitable action, some complication, unexpected development, and a positive or negative resolution? Now, if you don't understand any of this, what I'm talking about is really just a story arc. So, if you choose the third coding convention, you're commenting on the story arc. Is it effective? You can comment on the arc as a whole, or you can look at just specific moments like the climax or the resolution. And that's what you're commenting on. An effective ending. So, the ending could be positive or negative. Oftentimes students think that if an ending is negative, it's not effective. That's not true. If it fully reveals or explains the significance of the elements of the story, or if it fully explains the theme, then it's effective and it's probably worth writing about. The setting, number 5. So you want to look at whether the setting situates the story and enhances the atmosphere, mood, action, and plot. You want to look at the location, a time period, socioeconomic conditions. Atmosphere and plot also go in what you can look at as well. And there was a question about this in part 1 of the discussion questions of That Was Then, This Is Now. So use your knowledge of that to guide you if you want to choose the setting as a coding convention to explore. Number 6 is a central character. So does the story or novel contain a well-developed central character that experiences some change, growth, or new knowledge of self, the world, and or life situations? That applies to most central characters or protagonists in novels. And that's what you're looking at. Following this, you can look at supporting characters. That's number 7. Supporting characters are not fully developed, but what they do, or what they should do, is increase the reader's understanding of the central storyline and or central character. So if you have some supporting characters that do that, then they're definitely worth mentioning in your exploring paragraphs. Number 8 is the narrative voice or point of view. The first question you want to ask yourself is the narrative voice attention-grabbing and consistent? Then you can also comment on the type of narrative voice it is, and I provide a brief summary of this right here. So there's third person, so when the person telling the story is not part of the action. First person, this is often a major, minor, or silent character in the novel who tells the story. Omniscient is that the author knows everything about the characters and events and who can enter the mind of any character at will. So an omniscient narrator is not necessarily included in the story itself, but they're like God in quotation marks. So they're all knowing, and they know they can explain what's going on in the story. Number 9 is the dialogue. So you want to look at whether the dialogue develops the plot and or characters. Another question you can ask is, does the dialogue increase the reader's understanding of the main message or theme of the story? So look at when the characters talk to each other. Does it effectively convey these things, the message and the theme? And does it develop the plot or the characters? Also think of the dialogue in terms of what exactly they say. What kind of vocabulary do they use? Do they use slang? Does that describe the characters? Does that describe the theme? A couple of things to look at if you decide to look at dialogue. Last coding convention is the use of language, and this is more of the author's writing. So it's not the dialogue between the characters, it's how the author writes. And what you're looking at is word choice, sentence structure, grammar, and things like that. Now, I'm not asking you to correct the author's writing. What you're essentially saying, if you decide to comment on the use of language, is that the author's writing effectively transmits the story. So if you understand what's going on and you feel like you can relate to the author's writing, then you should definitely write about it in your exploring paragraphs. And so that's it for the Codes and Conventions lesson. Good luck for your exam.